I asked AI about my business, and the answers I got were all over the board. And here's the thing, this isn't an isolated incident. AI is hallucinating details about your business and your brand, yet consumers are using AI to research products and services more than ever. So what's the solution? How do you ensure that AI has access to accurate information about your business? To get to the bottom of this, I decided to ask AI about myself and see what it came up with. Starting with ChatGPT, it had no idea who I was. I had to modify my prompt to say, "Who is Christian Makoa?" and then it pulled up an answer. ChatGPT's answer was decent, though it still referred to my YouTube channel by the former name, Made. Claude and Grok indexed "Who is Krayler" on the first try. Claude had some outdated information, but Grok nailed it. The information was accurate and up to date. Gemini also nailed it on the first try, and it provided a great summary of who I am and what I do. But hang on, is this really that important? Why does AI getting the fine details of your business right really matter? It matters because people are using AI to research and inform their purchase decisions. I saw this play out firsthand when I was looking for podcast hosting. I decided to use Gemini to research the best podcast hosting for my needs, and I picked the one that I did because Gemini said it was the best option for video podcasts. It said that while most other hosts would make you jump through hoops to upload video podcasts to Apple and Spotify, this one did it automatically. And since I mentioned I was making a video first podcast, this one would be worth the premium to subscribe to for the convenience. So I did. And then I discovered that this is a beta feature not yet available to all customers. I was quite disappointed to learn this. The podcast host didn't do anything wrong or mislead anyone. The AI just presented a future roadmap feature as a current reality, and I made a purchase decision based on that hallucination. And whether you agree or disagree with using AI to research buying decisions, people are already using it, so it's best to understand how it works. Here's the reality. For small to medium-sized businesses, AI is probably not trained to remember anything about your business. It's simply searching the web and curating what it can find based on each prompt. A few weeks ago, I spoke at Web Agency Summit, and Adoram, the company hosting the event, let me know that Claude was very confused about me when they used it to write a newsletter promo. The confusion was around my last name. I used to go by Christian Taylor, but I now go by Christian Makoa. And yes, there's a whole story behind that, but I'm not going to explain that in this video. Anyway, Claude was very confused and was convinced that Christian Taylor and Christian Makoa were two entirely separate people. So I decided to run an experiment. What if I launched a landing page explaining the branding changes to see if Claude would pick up on it and clarify its answers? Within a day of making my page live, Claude completely changed its explanation about me. It basically regurgitated the whole landing page, and because I didn't want the answer of "Who is Christian Makoa" to be all about this branding change, I wanted to actually talk about what I do, I decided to take the page down. And within a day of removing the page, Claude reverted back to its old answer. So what can we learn from this? You need to publish more information about your business and products on your own platforms that you control. More on that later. But how do you even know whether your brand or product is ranking in AI? Using tools like Profound or Tracker AI, you can get a pulse on how often AI is citing your products or services. Now, it's one thing to monitor your company's performance in LLMs, but how do you get cited more often and more accurately? You can't directly train ChatGPT or Claude, but you can give them better maps. If you've just been relying on your social media posts to provide context for LLMs, they're probably lacking context about your products and services. Think about it. You don't normally post about your business on social media. You're posting updates and promotions and info for existing customers. This is why owning your online presence matters. Social media is rented land where you're relying on someone else's platform, which gives you zero control over how AI models scrape your data. But with your own website, you can publish accurate, authoritative information that AI tools may reference, just like I highlighted with the Christian Makoa landing page. One of the best ways to own your home on the internet is by publishing a WordPress site on WordPress.com, the sponsor of today's video. WordPress is much more than a blogging platform. It's a highly flexible, open source ecosystem that's perfect for building a clean, structured home base that AI models can easily parse. And WordPress.com has become one of my favorite WordPress hosts because they don't limit traffic or bandwidth on any plan. So when you launch your WordPress site and start building out your authoritative content, you don't have to worry about your site crashing or getting any surprise overage bills. Once your site is set up, there are a few tricks you can use to help LLMs learn who you are. For example, you can take advantage of the JSON LD schema. I know that sounds spooky, but I'll explain what that is. Think of this as a translator that explicitly tells search engines and LLMs exactly what your content means. As smart as we think AI is, sometimes it needs some help, and JSON LD is what tells LLMs, hey, this text right here that says @Krayler is actually a social media username. To add JSON LD to your WordPress site, you can use common SEO plugins like Yoast SEO, Rank Math, or All-in-One SEO. Within these plugins, you're looking for an option like titles in meta or site representation. I take a few extra minutes to optimize all of my WordPress sites with full metadata, and I highly recommend doing the same. And by the way, when you're deciding which website platform is right for you, one reason I prefer WordPress is it serves pre-rendered server-side HTML. While some AI crawlers can struggle to execute and read heavy client-side JavaScript, WordPress sites can provide a clean, structured foundation that's easier for search engines and AI crawlers to read and understand. I noticed when asking AI about myself that most of the sources it cited are powered by WordPress. WordPress.com has an AI website builder to get started in minutes, and they're also offering a complimentary website design service with the business and commerce plans. So if you're interested in hosting your WordPress site on WordPress.com, I'll have it linked below. Once you've taken control of your online presence, you can really utilize tools like Profound or Tracker to further optimize your content. I've been using Tracker AI to monitor my WordPress site, and one thing it recommended was creating an llms.txt file to guide AI crawlers to the best pages. Perhaps unsurprisingly, you can use AI to generate this. I asked Claude to write an llms.txt file for Krayler.com, and after doing a deep dive into my website, it wrote the file. However, it's critical that you double check AI's work, and you may want to add additional context to the file, because if you're tracking, asking AI to do a deep dive on your website that doesn't have an llms.txt file, which remember is meant to guide the LLMs to the best pages, like asking Claude to search my site that doesn't have that file to find the best pages, to make the file to guide Claude and other LLMs to the best pages, that doesn't really make the most sense. But using AI to generate the structure and syntax of the llms.txt file and populating it manually with the best information, that's a smart idea. Once your llms.txt file is ready to go, simply upload it to the public HTML directory of your web hosting and you're good to go. Alternatively, there's a free WordPress plugin that handles all of this for you. It helps you generate the file and it puts it in the proper directory. So in the end, getting cited more frequently by AI and ensuring the information is accurate isn't much different than traditional SEO. Google search won't have much info on your business to index if you don't have a website. In the context of product research, LLMs are just a search engine on steroids, so you need to own your platform, own your data, and control your source of truth for AI. I'll have a link to get started with WordPress.com below, but if you don't have time to build your website and you would rather hire it out, I recently ran an experiment where I spent $500 hiring 3 developers from Fiverr, Craigslist, and WordPress.com. You can watch the results of that experiment here.